Can Odell Beckham finish as the top wide receiver in 2019? Where should Le'Veon Bell be selected in the first round? And we settled the I Got 5 on it board in our Season 7 finale. Plus, the FFPC 750 number 3 Dynasty champion Ken Ford talks free agency with us, as well as how he has been so successful in the Football Guys Players Championship and the main event over the years as well. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
With the master rhymer, that's the lead behind the video rapper. You know the truck driver, tapper.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Gerzak fanatics. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, where should you select Antonio Brown this season? And we'll settle up our I Got 5 on it wagers for the 2018 year. Plus, Ken Ford drops in to talk about his latest high-stakes Dynasty championship, his read on Tevin Coleman and the rest of the Niners running backs and more. Shout out to the chat room right now. Post your questions you might have in there. And if you have anything for us, get them in the chat room. Get them on the Twitter. Get them in the emails. Our producer and mutual friend Rob and our audio engineer Bryce will do their best to get them to us in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. A couple of housekeeping notes before we get going here tonight. Dynasty Orphans available at myffpc.com. And Dave, Dizzle, you're just telling me right before the show started, we are down to 9. Count them, 9. How many teams? 9 teams left in the Dynasty Orphans. Is that correct?
All on sale. And there's actually some solid teams in there for good prices.
All right, so if you saw the FFPC email today, one of them was in there. I'm not sure if that one sold. We've been tweeting out the Dynasty Orphans of the day. Those have been selling fast. And you can get good deals on these. Remember, they're not necessarily terrible teams, but they are teams that the previous owner needs to step away for whatever reason. Work, money, family, me, whatever. Jail time. I mean, everything gets in the way. So check those out at myffpc.com. Best ball, super flex, and double ups. Obviously, all available at myffpc.com. And more. I just noticed this today, Dave. We have more Dynasty startups forming as well.
Yeah, from 77 to 500, and a lot of formats now. We have super flex, best ball, super flex, and best ball separately. And just your standard leagues as well. So check those out. Yeah,
check those out.
They're actually filling pretty quickly.
MyFFPC.com. Are they really filling quick? When's the next one draft? Is there anything that's open that's drafting this weekend?
Not this weekend, but next Saturday.
Next weekend, okay.
Saturday. And they probably should all fill, I would guess.
Okay. Well, and they'll fill. If you want to jump into them, myffpc.com, check that out. Coming up on tonight's show, actually, I already mentioned that. So let's get to tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen.
God.
Yeah, exactly. Doing a Dave Gerzak a solid. Instead of starting the show 6 minutes after the top of the hour, we're going to start 4 minutes tonight after the top of the hour. Let's bring in tonight's guest. He's won 2 high-stakes contests. In 2007, he won the Pay the Fan competition where he was presented the winning check by one of his all-time NFL favorites, Terry Bradshaw, at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. He also won the NFFC Classic Championship in 2013 and finished in the money there several times. He's won his individual leagues several times in the FFPC main event and Dynasty Leagues and Football Guys Players Championship since 2010, capturing Dynasty titles twice and numerous finishes in the money as well there. Please welcome into the show, making his debut on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, it is Ken Ford. Thanks so much for stopping by this week, Ken. We really appreciate it, man.
Hey, aloha, guys. Happy to be here. Good.
I got to ask you. Well, you're very welcome, and we thank you for coming on this week. I got to ask you. We're coming up. What is this? March 15th. The Ides of March today. Ken, are you in full-blown Dynasty mode? Are you knee-deep, wading through all the rookies that you are going to be selecting your Dynasty drafts? Have you gone that deep yet, or are you still sort of like, let's let the pundits weigh in a couple more weeks before I get engrossed in the rookies? Where are you at in your Dynasty prep so far, young man?
I think I'm pretty well into it. I'm still looking at the rookies quite a bit. There's a lot of information there, obviously with the Combine just happening not too long ago. Kind of soaking all that up and factoring that into listening to what the pundits have to say and kind of roll all that up and kind of making up my own mind as far as who drafts and who to skip. Obviously with the FFPC Dynasty, the rookie drafts, you've got all those free agents out there as well. So, looking at and seeing what's going to be out there available as players get dropped from teams, looking for those diamonds in the rough. I've managed to find a few of those over the years, and it's not always about the rookies.
No, definitely not, and especially with the FFPC drafts with the short Dynasty benches, you can certainly stumble on some free agents that will be a difference maker or will be difference makers in winning an FFPC high-stakes Dynasty title, which you are well acclimated to, my friend. Before we get into that, we'll try to get into some of the rookies tonight. We want to get into the free agency with you quite a bit. Before we do that, can you tell us, when you're not winning FFPC Dynasty leagues, Ken, what are you doing for a living?
Well, I've been working in the IT field for 20-plus years, so that, my world's all about tech. And it actually suits me well with fantasy football. I'm a very data-driven guy, and that works out really well for fantasy football. And I'm a tech guy. I'm a nerd. Don't wear glasses, but probably look just fine wearing them.
So, Ken, when you first started in fantasy, you're like, you know what? I'm going to kick all these guys' asses. I know what I'm doing. I've got Lotus 1, 2, 3. Is that what you said?
Lotus.
Yeah, that you dated me just about right there with the Lotus 1, 2, 3 reference. Yes.
God, that brings me back.
Loading. Can you please load the page?
I have this, and this is, when I was a kid, I didn't, and it's not that my parents didn't allow me to have a video game system. We just never really did because we had like these IBM PCs that we played all our video games on.
I figured maybe you're 2 generations behind or whatever.
Well, no. Because
do you guys have a joystick, or do you have to use the up-down thing?
Exactly, up-down.
That was
no
the worst,
joystick.
Right?
Because I didn't know.
Score it all.
No, Dave, I didn't know any better. I didn't know what it was like with a joystick. Now, for a span of like 5 or 6 years at my pre-adolescence, my preteen years, my parents on my birthday every year would let me rent an original classic NES system with like 5 games or whatever for the weekend.
We will eventually ask you questions about fantasy.
So I'm just getting this. I'm just getting this out right now.
I'll keep you longer.
So that's what they would let me do, and I was like, oh, this is great. But after like 5 days, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of sick of this. I want to get back to my computer games that I play year round that I'm used to or whatever. And my dad would have all the software programs that he bought, like the boxes for him, on a shelf right by the computer. Yeah. And I always remember Lotus was one of them. Yeah. There's DOS. Oh, yeah. We had Lotus and DOS and C++ when like the internet started getting, like, oh my gosh, there's something here.
That's still a code, by the way.
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, listen, some things never die. Speaking of some things never die, Dave. The news cycle in the NFL, and we were bombarded with a ton of moves this week. Let's talk about the headliner with Ken.
Well, the headliner heading into tonight, at least. So we're going to talk about Odell Beckham. He got signed by the Browns. How do you see it affecting the fantasy value of Jarvis Landry and David Njoku, big, important player for FFPC guys? What do you think? And you have both those players on your 750 number 3 team. Is that correct?
I do. I have both Landry and Njoku. I picked up Njoku out of the rookie draft. And, it's a big step up, obviously, for the Browns to get OBJ, and I think, he's easily going to soak up the lion's share of the targets there. I think, for Landry, it actually might help him because I don't think he's really suited to be the number 1 wide receiver, which is the way they tried to use him last season. So I think for him, as going back to that dedicated number 2 slot guy, I could see him still being a quality, PPR receiver in fantasy. For Njoku, I had hopes for him to make a move up into the upper echelon of tight ends. It's a bit of a wasteland in fantasy once you get past the top 3 tight ends. We'll see. I think he still has potential to be a strong red zone threat, but I think he probably takes the bigger hit from OBJ. I think OBJ is a pretty big red zone target himself, and I think that's going to detract from Njoku. But again, tight end is such a wide open position. Once you get past the top 3, I think he'll still end up being a quality tight end.
David Njoku is still only 22 years old. Turns 23.
Oh, really?
In July. He was super young.
You know what? I forgot about that. You're right. He was super young coming into the NFL. Boy, that's crazy. And think about this too. As Ken just astutely pointed out, David Njoku could have if you draft him, he could have a quote unquote disappointing season and still be a top 6, top 7 tight end. You know what I mean? Given what we're dealing with in tight end in the NFL right now.
When you have to look at Mayfield too, because Mayfield, he has such a fantastic rookie season. He is going to be a superstar quarterback. If he throws for 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns, there's going to be a lot of touchdowns to go around in that offense, and Njoku is going to have to get some of those.
Cleveland Browns are going to be a compelling team that we will be talking about over the course of the next few months here on this show, and we'll definitely get into the Mayfield hype as well. Let's shift to the West Coast here, Ken. The same team that you have, your 750 number 3 championship team, which, by the way, congratulations on winning that league. You have Jerick McKinnon on that team. Now, the Niners, you're very welcome. The Niners just signed Tevin Coleman to, I believe it was a 2-year. I knew it was initially reported $10 million. I think that's come down to $8.5 million on that. How do you and this is, by the way, Tevin Coleman, a guy who played under Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta, so he's very familiar with them. How do you deal with the Niners running back situation? And feel free to attack this question via redraft, via Dynasty, whatever you want. I'm just kind of curious how you think the workload will be split between McKinnon, between Coleman, and between Breida out there in the Bay Area.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think them signing Coleman and him coming from having played with Shanahan previously, he's familiar with that offense. I think he fits well in that offense. It really muddies the waters there quite a bit. I had hope for McKinnon to maybe be an RB3 with RB2 upside, but at this point I'm kind of downgrading my expectations for him. He's probably a flex play with upside, and it may be one of those week-to-week things that you're never quite sure what you're going to get from him. We'll have to pay attention in the preseason to see how they're using those backs. With Breida, I think he's a quality player, but he has a lot of trouble staying healthy. So there's a strong chance you're going to get a two-way between Coleman and McKinnon, with maybe McKinnon getting the higher share of the PPR receptions. So value him a little higher in the PPR league for sure. It hurts me. Once again, my dynasty player is taking a hit because of free agency. It's a tough one. I was kind of counting on McKinnon coming back this year and maybe being a big part of that backfield. But right now I'm kind of downgrading my expectations just a little bit.
Dave Darren Armani from FantasyMojo.com. You can follow him on Twitter at FantasyMojo. He was kind enough to send me the updated ADP data for FFPC leagues that have drafted since sort of the storm has quieted on free agency this year. Now, it's an extremely small sample size, as you are well aware. There's not a ton of drafts where we can use this. But I will say right now, Tevin Coleman going at the 604 in FFPC best balls right now, with Jerick McKinnon going at the 506. So I think you're going to see McKinnon maybe come down a little bit, Coleman go up a little bit. But I don't know if there's going to be a ton of variation beyond that. And quite frankly, maybe what we see is both of those guys going down in ADP, where you're just like, you know what, I don't want to deal with either one of these guys. I'm going to let them slip and go with wide receiver, tight end, or a different running back. That's certainly something to be paying attention to. But that's where we're at right now as far as San Francisco goes. I want to have you ask this next question to Ken, because it deals with a Carolina receiver that I think you haven't necessarily been hyping up in this offseason, but I think a guy that
I'm pissed about him because I can't get him anywhere.
And
I drafted him in a few leagues,
right? And
then I cut him because he wasn't doing anything.
It's Curtis Samuel. It's a guy that you've said people should pay attention to, and there was an interesting.
I'm so mad.
They lost Devin Funchess.
Well, they didn't lose him.
Well, I mean, they let him go to free agency. He's in Indianapolis right now.
Like losing a purse you don't want anymore.
All right. Well, I will let you talk to Ken about Curtis Samuel.
Not that I have a purse or anything, Bob.
It's a
only on Sundays.
It's European.
Church.
It's European, right?
First, yeah. Anyway, so we're talking about Curtis Samuel. You have him on your team. Funchess is gone. He looks like he's the clear number 2. What do you think of Curtis Samuel? And actually, before I like him, so I'm going to give you my opinion first, and then I'll let you answer. He actually, one thing to point out, he had a 2.914 Phenom score, top in his class in 2017.
Really?
Per RotoViz. Just slightly ahead of Juju Smith-Schuster, who came in second. But what do you think about Samuel?
Yeah, I actually like Samuel a lot. I have him on this team. I actually traded for him yesterday on one of my other Dynasty teams. Sorry to say I was successful in trading for him. I think he has a great. Thank you. I think he has a great shot at certainly being a strong wide receiver 2 on that team. I think DJ Moore is the guy from the receiving core, and of course you've got all those passes going to the running backs. But I think Samuel is going to be a guy who's got a huge upside. He even takes handoffs out of the backfield, right? And he's a big threat with that as well. So I have a lot of hope for him. I think with that offense, we'll see how Cam Newton comes back this year. But I think the potential for him to get you some really big games. It may not be consistent week to week, but I think he's one of those guys that you plug him in at a flex and there are going to be certain weeks where you say, man, I'm so glad I started him.
Ken Ford joining the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight with Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. Ken, a former six-figure High Stakes Fantasy Football winner, a national contest fantasy football winner, and, of course, winner at the FFPC Dynasty level Football Guys Players Championship and FFPC main event as well. I would say, Ken, one of the more interesting conversations that I don't think we're talking much about, and that's probably due to free agency. It's probably due to the combine and the upcoming NFL draft. But Todd Gurley, man, I don't think the Rams could be any more cryptic than they have been thus far, really not saying anything about his knee. Is there arthritis there? Is there something serious there? They're not really saying. What's your read on him as far as the Rams go right now? And when you look at in FFPC drafts right now, and I know I referenced this earlier, and I'll tell you right now that since free agency has gone off, Todd Gurley has slipped in drafts, but only to the 106. Is he looking like a bust at that point right now in the drafting season to you, or is there some value there? How do you read this Gurley situation with the Rams?
I think for me, probably not as down on him as a lot of people are. I mean, there's certainly some red flags there with the way he ended the season and the rather cryptic way the Rams have handled the injury. I think for me at this point in time, I probably wouldn't draft him 1 overall. I'd probably, bump him behind Zeke and Barkley, but I'd still say he's probably my number 3 running back from a draft standpoint until I get information that changes my mind. There's just so much to love there when he's playing and when he's healthy. My guess is they probably will lighten his workload a bit next year, but I can't see, unless there really is something serious wrong with that knee, I can't see them taking a huge amount of work away from him. He's just such a big part of that offense. So, for me, I think at 106, I'd be pretty happy to take him there.
Dave, you agree with that? Would you take him at the 106? I think you have a little bit more trepidation.
I think I'm a little bit more nervous. As far as in redraft we're talking about.
Right, redraft, yeah.
I'm looking at I'm thinking going more 0 RB this year, although I will take an RB early. So at that point, I might be looking at receivers. But, I mean, it's tough to pass on Gurley. I think I might be at this. If I was drafting right now, I probably would not take Gurley at 106.
I can't remember if we talked about this on the show last week, but we can bring it up tonight since we have such an accomplished Dynasty player on the show. Dave, Wasp Guy in the chat room, who we love, wants to know what you traded Gurley for in the one Dynasty league you did move him in thus far. And as I remember, it was a blockbuster that you moved him in.
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, this was before Beckham got traded.
Right.
It was Gurley and Julio for Beckham, Aaron Jones, and Kenny Galladay. And actually, I'm sorry, Gurley, Julio, and a 2020 second, actually.
So next year's second-round pick, along with Todd Gurley and Julio Jones, that's what you sent. And
I was trying to get younger. My team actually was getting
a little long in the tooth.
Very long in the tooth. I was trying to do a minor rebuild, and I don't know, who knows if it's working or not. But
Well, you get a 26-year-old receiver in Odell Beckham.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones, who's still super young.
Yeah, he's young, but we'll see how he turns out.
And then Kenny Galladay, another.
He's a decent prospect, and we'll see how he turns out.
So
Jones and Galladay are a little bit hit or miss, but
you have to feel okay about that trade right now.
I feel all right about it because after the Beckham trade, I feel better about it.
Right, exactly. I'm totally with you on that as well. We talked about Beckham, we talked about Gurley. What about Antonio Brown, Dave? Because we haven't touched on him yet.
Yeah, we haven't talked much about Antonio Brown. He's going in around the second round, late second round of FFPC draft so far. That's super cheap for a guy with 110 receptions a year, but he's now having the better of the cars throwing to him, the eyeliner one, the Maybelline-sponsored Derek
I thought both of them had eyeliner.
Well, that's true. They might.
Yeah.
Where would you grab him now, or would you grab him at all?
I guess only one of them's admitted to
Let's
it.
Not say grab. Let's draft him.
Right.
Who writes these questions? Draft him. Now he's a member of the Raiders.
Yeah, Antonio Brown. So first of all, I'm a lifelong Steelers fan, so it's very painful to see what's going on with the Steelers right now. Antonio Brown going to the Raiders. Late second, early third is probably where I'm at with him right now. I mean, it's such a big downgrade in the offense that he's going to and the talent that's around him there. I think he's still going to get a ton of targets, but I got to think the efficiency is going to go down and touchdown production. I mean, we'll see where that plays out, but he's still going to be a top wide receiver, no doubt. Is he top 5? Probably not, based on where he's playing. But I could certainly, I certainly still see him in top 10, top 12, easy.
Yeah, and again, I said this, it was a small sample size that we're working with, but prior to the trade to the Raiders, Antonio Brown was going at the 210 in FFPC best balls. Now that is one spot behind Juju Smith-Schuster, who is going at the 209. Now, again, limited sample size, but right now they're both going at the 208. So Antonio Brown, technically, Dave, has actually moved up 2 spots in FFPC ADP since his move to the Raiders. Dave, do you think there's any, and Ken, feel free to weigh in on this, do you think there's any truth to the fact, this is something that you brought up, and I call it the Delhomme theory. When Jake Delhomme was throwing...
This is your theory?
No, this is your theory.
Oh.
You just never named it.
Oh, thank you.
Where you want a receiver that plays with a capable quarterback but not a really good quarterback, because really good quarterbacks are able to spread the ball around, hit the open receiver. Capable quarterbacks tend to lock onto a particular receiver. Young quarterbacks, you see this with a lot. Part of the reason Steve Smith was so good for fantasy was because Jake Delhomme, not a great quarterback, but he was able to lock on to Steve Smith, and he got a buttload of targets every single year. Are you of the opinion that Derek Carr might actually, I'm asking you, Dave, right now, and Ken, feel free to weigh in on this. I'm asking you, Dave, is Derek Carr closer to Jake Delhomme rather than what Ben Roethlisberger was last year with Antonio Brown, where he had Juju Smith-Schuster to spread the ball around to? Whereas in Oakland, I mean, yeah, there's Tyrell Williams and J.J. Nelson, but let's face it, it's Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I mean, what concerns me about Carr is that you could never do that with Amari Cooper, but Cooper is not the same receiver as Brown. Brown actually gets open, and maybe Carr is one of those quarterbacks who really needs to see the player getting open, right? He doesn't just throw it up to a big guy when he's being covered. And so I am hopeful a little bit in that regard. I might draft Antonio Brown in some spots. I think he's going to do all right.
Ken, I know you said end of the second, early third for Antonio Brown. Is the target share, is the fact that he should get more balls thrown his way than he did last year in Pittsburgh, is that enough to make up for the fact that he won't be playing on as dynamic of an offense that the Steelers had in 2018?
Yeah, no, I'm really concerned about that offense. I mean, they were pretty underwhelming last year. I think everybody's still trying to figure out what John Gruden's plan is for that team. And with the players that are around him, there's no Le'Veon Bell or James Conner to pull away defensive backs on the run game. The receivers he's playing with, there's no Juju Smith-Schuster on that team. The defensive backs are, going to focus on him much more than they could at Pittsburgh. Not that they weren't paying attention to him; they certainly were. But he's it as far as that offense is concerned. Take him away, and I think he's going to struggle a little bit. I think he's still going to be a top receiver in this league in fantasy for sure. I just don't see him matching the success he had at Pittsburgh.
All right, now I have a very important question, and Ken is a perfect player to ask this.
All right.
Just today, I got an email. I'm going to read this email from, I'm not going to say who it is, but
From an FFPC player?
No, it's not. It's from an agent,
Oh.
Antonio Brown. His marketing agent.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
I'm not kidding.
You got this email from Antonio Brown?
Antonio Brown's agent follow-up, okay?
Okay.
And originally, it was like, he's talking about Antonio Brown maybe, being sponsored by the FFPC, whatever.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Okay.
And he goes, hope all is well, just touching base in case anything has changed or is an honoring opportunity you think you'd want to do in Vegas, which will be Antonio's new home soon enough. Now, Ken, I just looked at your account. You've never been live to our Vegas event. If we paid Antonio Brown some money, would you come and hang out with Antonio Brown for about, 20 minutes or whatever and party?
Sure.
We wouldn't be partying, but
there you go.
All right, so
I'm still a Steelers homer, and he's such a successful player for the Steelers. Yeah, I'd do that.
All right.
Once a member of the black and gold, always a member of the black and gold.
So when his agent, he's asking for $50,000. So $50,000 probably is what he's asking for. So that's about $1,000 worth of Ken's. Although Ken would have entered anyway online.
Are we
even help him?
Maybe we can pass around a hat at Planet Hollywood.
Charge a cover like if you're singing Bullet Boys or Warrant at a local bar.
Right, exactly. I think these are all things we can explore here.
Ken, thanks for the answer. I appreciate that.
Ken Ford, ladies and gentlemen, hanging out with us in the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, a former FFPC Dynasty Football Guys Players Championship and Main Event League winner, joining us tonight. Certainly happy to have you. We were talking about Antonio Brown. Let's keep it with Pittsburgh and the new guys they have there. Dante Moncrief gets signed by the Steelers. Ken, they already have James Washington, who was a high draft pick last year by Pittsburgh. Are either of those guys on your radar as breakouts now that Brown is not going to be catching balls from Ben Roethlisberger in 2019?
Yeah, it's interesting. Moncrief is interesting because, obviously there's a ton of targets there to somebody's got to catch that now that Antonio Brown is gone. Moncrief, a bit okay last year, but he's playing, the offense he was in last year at Jacksonville, it was just dreadful. So, I'm interested to see what he can do with a higher quality offense. So yeah, I think he's somebody I might look at in later rounds as a target. As far as James Washington, I think there's a lot of potential there. He had a pretty disappointing rookie season. So I'll be curious to see him in preseason to see if, it looks like he's maybe taking a step forward and adjusting to the NFL game. But, yeah, I think both those guys, there's definite interest there, probably more so in Moncrief at this point. But we'll see what Washington can show.
All right, I'm with you. It makes total sense.
I'm not talking about Dante Moncrief anymore.
What is that?
I've told you he sucks for years now. I'm not going to tell you anymore. All right? That's it.
Catching passes from
blah, 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 blah. It's the same. Has Moncrief never had a good quarterback?
Hold on.
Let's look at Moncrief's prior quarterbacks. Andrew Luck.
Hold on.
And where was he last year? Okay, no, granted, that wasn't as good, but okay.
Dante Moncrief, FFPC ADP, 22-12. You got to look at him there. In fact,
I don't have to do anything.
I'm gobbling him up. I'm gobbling him up there. In the 22nd round.
Phrasing.
Give me a break. Moving on. Not to keep poking open wounds, but let's talk about another former Steeler here, Dan.
Why are we talking about all Steelers tonight?
Well, there's a lot of this.
It's not like Tyreek Hill is in the news.
We're going to talk about Tyreek Hill. Don't worry about that.
All right. Ken, I have a question about a former Steeler, Le'Veon Bell. He's now on the JTS Jets. How much do his numbers change running the? We ask you all these questions like, you're supposed to have the definitive answer. So we need the definitive answer. How much do his numbers change running the ball? The Jets as opposed to the Steelers.
That's such a step down from where he was. Going to that offense, which there's some promise there. I think Darnold is going to be in his second year. He showed some flashes last year. Maybe the biggest concern for me is the head coach in Gase coming from Miami. That team just really underachieved from an offensive standpoint. I think he couldn't figure out how to use Kenyon Drake in Miami. I think they run the fewest or close to the fewest plays per game from an offensive standpoint. I just think it's going to be very difficult for him to match what he did in Pittsburgh or even come close to it. His style of running, and we'll see how it fits in that offense, and that offensive line. I think they improved a little bit in free agency, but they're nowhere near what the Steelers can offer. So it's honestly, Le'Veon's not somebody I'm targeting this year. I'll let somebody else take a chance on him. I just, big red flags for me.
Interesting points. I like that, actually.
Are you of the same opinion? We're going to let somebody else take Le'Veon Bell, Dave?
I was actually I hadn't spent a lot of time thinking about it, but I'm letting Ken influence me early on here. I kind of like his take.
Okay, so no,
I don't have any take of my own because I'm still formulating opinions, but I like Ken's take.
Okay, all right, so that's definitely shifted your not shifted because I don't know how you.
I own him in 2 dynasty leagues. I'm not trying to sell him or anything like that. I'm fine owning him. But if someone made a nice offer, I probably would look at it.
Going at the 106 currently in FFPC best ball leagues as far as that goes right now. So, yeah, I mean, okay, let me ask you this. Who would you rather take, Dave? Le'Veon Bell or Todd Gurley? You'd probably rather take Bell.
I'd take Gurley still.
Really?
Yeah.
Mr. Arthritis.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
Okay, fair enough. I'm with you.
By the way, 538.com had an interesting article about Bell actually saying that the Jets signing of Bell was actually a decent move. Which is interesting because a lot of times these news articles are like, oh, that was a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
And the point was that I forgot the numbers, but there's a certain number of career carries that running backs get at which they fall off on a yards per carry basis. And Bell is probably, I think it was 600 to 900 carries away from that still.
Right.
And his career yards per carry, they showed his, and he was at like 4.5 or 4.6. I don't know what it is. You might be looking it up. But the average running back is 4.0, and then he starts to drop off. So even when Bell drops off from 4.5, he'll drop off to like 4. So you're looking at 2 to 3 more good years out of Bell, and then he'll probably drop off. When you have I don't want to say Hall of Fame, but I mean, he could have that path, right? He might have a Curtis Martin type, or, probably won't have a Frank Gore career because he's ageless, but he could have a long, getting up to age 31 or 32 career, Bell could, and do very well for people, including dynasty owners.
4.3 yards a carry for his career. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I think he had a few I think early on he didn't do as well, but the last couple of years I thought it was a little bit.
Actually,
last year it was 0.
Yeah, it was 0 last year. Starting in 2013, it went from 3.5 all the way up to 4.7.
Yeah, rookie year was bad. Yeah.
Right, and then he had a pair of 4.9s. It actually dropped down in 2017 down to 4.0, but that was also the year he had the most catches of his career, 85.
Right. Okay.
And let's face it, we all know once his yards per carry falls off, Dave, he's going to shift to a slot receiver and then become the greatest running back known to man. I have another, I guess this is a quasi-Steelers question. This isn't my fault because this is Joe in Minneapolis who wrote us tonight, Ken. He writes, with Oakland adding Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, and J.J. Nelson, would you draft Derek Carr as your starting quarterback if you waited until 10 or 11 were off the board? Congrats on your dynasty win. That is Joe in Minneapolis. Thank you for the email, Joe. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. I know you're a little bit nervous about the Oakland offense. If you didn't have a quarterback, there was 11 of them off the board, would you make Derek Carr your starter, or is that still too early in your opinion?
That's probably still too early for me to take Derek Carr. I think they're probably, at that point, probably still better options on the board. I just don't, to me, Derek Carr is a slightly above average quarterback by NFL standards. He's somebody I wouldn't probably mind taking as my second quarterback as a backup if I was going to carry 2 quarterbacks. But, maybe if it was the 13th round and I'm still needing a quarterback, I might take him.
Dave, are you with him on that? Is taking Derek Carr as a backup but not your starter?
If it was in like the 20s, there's a lot of guys I like better than Derek Carr.
Really? Okay.
A lot.
All right.
Brady, Lamar Jackson,
Cam Newton,
Dak Prescott, Cam. I mean, tons of guys there.
Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo, you including that? I'm trying to think of another good comparison here to Derek Carr here. I thought Garoppolo was good.
Stafford. He's like in the Stafford range for me. Like
Darnold? What about Darnold?
I probably would take him over Darnold.
Kirk Cousins?
No, I would take. I think I would take Cousins. Cousins, I haven't really thought about. Once again, you go back to the thing like, okay, Cousins. Okay, apparently he sucks, but his receivers are all getting drafted in the late 3rd round. It's like, what the hell is going on there?
All right, let me ask you this, the final one. Right now, if you're drafting in a redraft tonight, would you take Derek Carr or would you take Kyler Murray?
Oh, I would take Murray.
They are both.
I like Murray.
They are both going at the 10-10 of FFPC
Get the
redraft.
Murray hype going, baby.
So, I think
what
we're
about
going to.
Ken, what do you take?
Ken, who would you rather have right now if you're drafting in a redraft tonight? Derek Carr or Kyler Murray?
I'll qualify. It depends on who drafts Kyler Murray and where he lands. If he lands in Arizona, I'd probably take him. That's a good situation for him potentially, especially if they move on from Josh Rosen.
You know what would be the most Oakland thing to do, Dave? you get Antonio Brown, you trade for Antonio Brown, you sign Tyrell Williams, you sign J.J. Nelson, and then you go out and draft Kyler Murray in the first round.
Trade up for him?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be even better.
Well, they would have to probably. I read some tweet where it was, I forgot who it was, but they were saying that the Raiders decided to do the Cleveland Browns plan for rebuilding, but then they accelerated it to this year.
Yeah. No, I saw that too. I saw the same thing.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Screw it, let's just do it right now.
I want to say that was I can't remember who it was, but they said this is the exact same thing that the Raiders are doing the exact same thing the Browns did, only the Raiders got impatient a year too early and tried to accelerate it till now. So that was very funny and probably pretty accurate. All right, let's go to one more email here. John in Nipomo, California. Since the Bucs signed Peyton Barber and just drafted Ronald Jones last year, do you envision them drafting a day 1 or day 2 running back again this season, or can I just safely ignore all running backs on this team for 2019? Thank you so much for the email, John in Nipomo, California. The Buccaneers are they've been an interesting team here, Ken. They let Adam Humphries go to the Titans. They trade Deshaun Jackson to the Eagles. They have Godwin and Evans, and obviously the tight ends in Brait and Howard. But the backfield
super sleeper Justin Watson
from Harvard.
Penn.
Excuse me. I knew
he
it
went
was
to that dumpy Ivy League Penn, which is leagues behind Cornell, by the way.
Obviously, in academics and football, clearly.
Ben Franklin didn't know crap.
So I pose this to you. I mean, are you interested in any Tampa running backs? Do you think that there's a chance that they draft one in the first 3 rounds coming up at the end of April?
I think there's a chance they will. I think I have some interest in Ronald Jones. I have to think that he certainly can't get worse than he was last year. And in the new offense that's going to be put in there under Bruce Arians, it's a very running back friendly system. So I got to think he's going to have an opportunity to do well. So he's another one I'm really interested to see how the preseason goes with him. To see if he's able to take a step forward. Not that interested in Peyton Barber. I mean, he's kind of just a guy. He doesn't really give you much upside. And we'll see if they draft somebody. I'm not real big on the running back class this year. I think there's not a lot. There's no big stars coming out of this year's draft, I don't think, from the running back position. So yeah, I got some interest in Ronald Jones.
I do too, actually. I like Ronald Jones. I think, and he's pretty cheap in Dynasty and redraft. I mean, both situations. And with Arians, he actually said, I'm interested to see what Ronald Jones can do. And I think why not take a shot at such a cheap price?
Yeah, and speaking of cheap prices, right now I can tell you that Ronald Jones in FFPC drafts going all the way down at the 1608. You know what you have in Peyton Barber in Tampa. You don't know exactly what you have in Ronald Jones, and if you're going to sink a pick into it, 16th round seems pretty good to me.
I bet your Barber is going after Jones.
I will tell you right now, Dave, that Peyton Barber is going at the 2010.
There you go.
So you are 100% correct
the so-called
on that.
Starter is going 4 rounds later.
But I mean, I think there's a whole there's a FOMO aspect to this here, Dave, and I think that if you miss on Peyton Barber and he hits, okay, whatever. But if you miss on Ronald Jones and he hits, that's when you might regret a little bit more.
I'd like to hear a story about Ronald Jones looking, rocked up or doing something great.
Man,
I haven't heard any of those
the
stories.
rocked up thing is
Where's the rocked up story?
I don't care.
I know
for
that didn't work out for McCaffrey last year because he looked rocked up. And then what did he do? He went out and just destroyed all of fantasy land.
Maybe we'll get something like that once minicamp start and everything, and Ronald Jones actually looks good on the football field. That's what I want to see. I know he's in shape. I know he's fast. I know he's shifty. My 2 questions: can he play football? Can he catch passes?
Can he play football? That's important.
Can he play football is highly
important.
That's
my most important part.
Can he catch passes might be more important for me. Yeah, that's sort of where I stand. Listen, we've been very lucky to keep Ken on this long. One more question before we let him go, Dave.
All right, Ken, this is how Eric and I determine the guys that we end up liking or not. We just use all of our guest information. So we need a player you're going to be staying away from early or in the early rounds this season, and we need a sleeper because we are not very good at this. We need someone who's going to break out, and any help you can give us, we appreciate.
Well, I think for me, we've already talked about probably 2 guys I'm staying away from the early rounds. That's Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. So I think we've already talked about them quite a bit, but I think they'll probably still be overdrafted based on their new situation, particularly Bell. I just can't see myself drafting him in an early round.
There you go. All right, so that's
I'm with you on that. I get it. And as far as a sleeper, I know it's difficult because we're so early in the season. But if there's a guy flying under the radar right now that is going to be on a lot of your teams this year, Ken, who would it be?
I'd say Dalvin Cook is probably my number one sleeper. I think he's in. Latavius Murray's gone. I think he's another year removed from his injury. I think he could have a big season.
Dave, I know you like I shouldn't say you like him, but I know you own Dalvin Cook in at least one Dynasty league. Are you?
That's right. I own him in Carrington, Balky.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, that's right. That's what that is with you and I in that league. So, are you on board with Dalvin Cook having a big 2019? Just curious.
Where's he being? Yeah, I like Dalvin Cook. Where's he being drafted?
I can tell you right now that Dalvin Cook in FFPC now since free agency started. If I have not made that. Abundantly clear. Dalvin Cook is going at the 210.
210, okay, so I guess 303.
He's going ahead of Damian Williams, Sony Michel, Leonard Fournette. He is going behind Joe Mixon, David Johnson, and Nick Chubb.
That seems like a pretty good spot for him because, he is a pedigreed back, so he's not like Damian Williams, who's not a pedigreed back. And he catches passes. The offense is pretty solid. I like him for sure. That's nice.
All right. I'm totally with you on that, and I'm totally with Ken Ford tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Great stuff from you, Ken. I really appreciate you hopping on the show tonight and talking a little Dynasty with us. I wish we could have got into the rookies more, but time is a flat circle. I'm sure we'll get into it in the future. Hopefully we can have you on again. Best of luck to you in 2019 and in all your leagues. Good luck repeating in that 750 number 3, and enjoy your weekend, man. Thanks again.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me on, and just just want to give a big thank you to you guys for running one of the best one of the best fantasy football organizations out there. You guys are top notch.
Well, thanks a lot. Hey, Balky, put that down for our testimonial.
All right, Tess.
It's always been fun trading emails with you over the years. It's so nice to talk with you, actually.
To put a voice with an email address.
Yeah, now I'll always, whenever I read your email, I'll envision your voice in my ears.
Ken, be good, man. We'll talk to you again soon, especially when we get Antonio Brown out to Planet Hollywood for the FFPC.
Shut up, Balky. We're not going to do that.
See you there. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Ken Ford, ladies and gentlemen, hopping on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight. A winner of numerous Dynasty Leagues, Football Guys Players Championship, FFPC main event leagues as well, and former six-figure champion. We won back in 2008. Now, I know you don't want to talk about NFFC, but we won primetime. Exactly. We won primetime in 2008. He won the Classic in 2013.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's really good.
But I mean,
Why didn't you just mention it on air? So if you're going to mention it now.
I did mention it on air. Oh, okay. Thanks for listening.
No, but you didn't mention the brand. You didn't mention their name. You just,
I absolutely did.
Oh, then I wasn't listening.
Yeah, no. But we won the primetime, right?
Yes.
And the Classic was the 14, right?
Yes.
Right.
Just to be clear, so everyone knows, I was the one who drafted the 2008 team.
Yes, but but here's the thing.
I'm just messing around.
Here's the thing.
You gave all the good free agent advice?
I don't know about that. But I was the guy who was at a wedding the night you drafted the team, and you called me that night from the wedding, and I was the one who said, hey, this sounds like a really good team.
Thank you.
So I feel like I had integral input into this.
Actually, you did have plenty during the season. I'm just farting around.
Well, thank you so much. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Let's move on. Thanks to Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Let's lead it off with some news hot off the press, Dave. This is something I think we should talk about, and it's Tyreek Hill. Oh, my God, it's Tyreek Hill. According to Brooke Pryor and Steve Vachrot of the Kansas City Star, he is being investigated for alleged battery. Now, I'm going to go through the details as posted on the Kansas City Star. As of the taping of this show, no charges have been filed against Tyreek Hill, but police in Overland Park are investigating. Tyreek Hill's son was injured in the alleged battery, and he actually broke his arm. A police report that the Kansas City Star obtained dated yesterday. It's unclear when this actually happened, but the police report was dated yesterday. Crystal Espinal, who was Tyreek Hill's fiance, is mentioned in the report, and she's been in contact with police, according to the Kansas City Star. If you remember, Tyreek Hill was kicked off the Oklahoma State University football team in 2014 following a domestic violence incident against the same Crystal Espinal, who was pregnant at the time. He pled guilty to domestic assault and battery by strangulation. This is something that the Chiefs are going to have to deal with fresh off their Kareem Hunt nightmare of last year, Dave. Now, even if this all comes up clean from the legal aspect for Tyreek Hill, the NFL knows no bounds in suspending players. Your early thoughts on this, as this just broke, maybe 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago?
Yeah, a few hours ago. And by the way, in FFPC Dynasty leagues, Hill's been getting dealt frequently. So can
you talk about some of the deals that you've seen thus far for him?
Yeah, I'll go through those in a second.
Okay.
Actually, I'll talk about a few things, but I just want to say that if you're not playing Dynasty and you're listening to this, why not? Because Dynasty is so fun. Not that it's fun to have this news happen, but things happen and actually, players' values increase or decrease, and you're kind of you are missing out on a whole other aspect of fantasy.
Whole other.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll allow that because you're the major of
just looking out for you, man.
Linguistics. And
just
whatnot.
Looking out for you.
So anyway, anyways, I'm gonna miss. So anyway,
no comment.
So what I tells them is I says,
this is great. This is great. I'm so glad I mentioned it now.
So I think that you have to reserve judgment a little bit.
Okay.
I know the NFL wants to. If he's not listed in the 314 report, only she's listed. In the 35 report, from what I understand, the police declined to prosecute. It doesn't seem like he's involved as officially.
Right.
I know that the problem with Kareem Hunt was that he lied to the team. So that
was the issue. Right? That's a huge issue. Yeah.
Having said all that, are the Chiefs going to cut their player? Are they going to cut their way to a championship?
No, they're not.
Are they going to cut Hunt? What if Mahomes gets involved in Mahomes gets a drunk driving, or he's going 110 in his Lamborghini down the Kansas City Highway?
It'd have to be more serious offense than that.
And then he crashes it into a
person.
Sure.
And
they live, right? This is it's all speculation and all BS, but
it's not even speculation. It's just us making stuff up.
Making stuff up. Fine. But I'm just saying, you can't. People do stuff. Sometimes they do stuff that's not the best. And by the way, it seems like maybe their relationship isn't meant to be. That's a whole other story.
Right.
But anyway,
whole other story.
That's right. It's a whole other story. And that's a whole other story. So do you want me to read off a few trades?
So what has he been going for in FFPC Dynasty leagues since this news broke, Dave?
Those mentions I get right now are all about these tweets
I have no doubt. Yes.
So I'm looking it up. 1 second. To me, the most egregious trade that was the least value, the worst one. He went for the 109. The 109.
Right.
For the 109. I thought that was definitely not enough. And then a similar trade that went down right around that same time. He went for Robbie Anderson, Sony Michel, the 109, and a 2022. So that was more normal. And then
not that much normal.
Well, there's a lot. Sony Michel. Okay, he went for, in addition to 109, included Sony Michel, Robbie Anderson, and a 2022.
I get it. Yeah.
Then he went for Albert Wilson and 2 2021.
Woof.
Watkins, AJ Green, and a 2019 305.
Interesting.
Geis and Ebron. I thought that was underselling him, but anyway. And then the 106 and a 2021. So 2 first rounders is kind of the price on those are the trades that are getting executed. I have no idea all the trades are getting turned down.
Right.
I feel like the trades I've been seeing are people selling him for too cheap.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that one. Anything else on Tyreek Hill? What would you be looking for in your dynasty leagues right now? If you are actually looking to acquire him right now?
Yeah, actually, I want him. I think in 4 out of the 8 leagues I'm in, and I'm trying to get him in the rest. And
right.
I sent out
make
offers.
it a monopoly.
Yeah, and no one's responded to the trade offers because people are.
It is Friday night.
Yeah, you check your email.
Well, I'm just saying it's Friday night.
Get it on your phone or whatever.
Well, whatever.
I sent it 3 hours ago.
People have lives. The Ravens have agreed to terms with running back Mark Ingram, who was with the Saints last year on a 3-year, $15 million contract, according to Adam Schefter on Twitter. Now, the Saints decided that they were going to sign Latavius Murray to go with Alvin Kamara this year instead of Mark Ingram. He spent his first 8 years of his professional career in the Big Easy. The Ravens were the most run-heavy team in the league after Lamar Jackson took over for Joe Flacco last year, and you got to believe that Mark Ingram is going to see a pretty heavy touch distribution, I would imagine, in that Baltimore offense. Alex Collins has been cut. Buck Allen is a free agent. It's Ingram, it's Gus Edwards, and it's Kenneth Dixon, Dave. We've talked about this off air. You love this landing spot for Mark Ingram's value.
Yes, Mark Ingram is a badass, and the Ravens are a badass franchise. It's a perfect fit. I just think it really is. I feel like Ingram was, like the Saints to me are a little bit like a finesse team.
Yes.
I feel like Ingram was just not the right fit for them, but I just feel he's a lunch pail guy. I feel like he's a perfect fit for the Steelers or the Ravens, and I feel like this is just great for him.
Well, let me ask you this: your thought? I'm not going to tell you right now. where would you take him in an FFPC best ball? Single year, where would you take him?
I would take him in the early third. I know he's going later than that, but I think he's going to move up.
All right, where do you think he's going?
Early. Well, but this just happened. So
where
he's going is not really.
But these all okay.
When did they happen?
Yeah.
Like yesterday.
These drafts.
Early fourth.
4-11.
All right, so he's probably now going. I would think he's going early.
He's going behind Devontae Freeman, Tariq Cohen, and Darius Geis. I'd rather have him than Geis.
I don't think he is anymore, but okay. All right, I got you.
And he is going ahead of Jerick McKinnon, Josh Jacobs, and James White.
That makes sense.
Okay. Moving on. Talk about Odell Beckham here, because the Browns have acquired him in exchange for a first-round pick and a third-round pick in this year's draft, along with safety Jabril Peppers, who is a 2017 first-round pick from Michigan. This according to Mike Garafolo on Twitter. He is 26 years old and in the prime of his career. Giants get the 17th overall pick in the draft and the second of the two Browns third-rounders, number 95 overall. Jabril Peppers, solid player, not a dominant player. And it's weird because the GM of the Giants, Dave Gettleman, actually just signed Odell Beckham to a contract extension less than 7 months ago, saying he didn't sign him to trade him, and then he traded him. The Browns have Odell Beckham now, along with Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt. Dave, I look at how people are reacting to this trade on Twitter, Facebook, and in real life, and I'm reminded of when LeBron James signed in Miami to go along with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and they had this big flowery introduction, and LeBron said, how many championships are we going to win? Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven. He kept going up. People are crowning the Browns, man. They are. And justly, I don't know. But to be the man, you got to beat the man. They haven't beat the man yet. I don't want to get crazy on this. I think you and I also have differing opinions from a fantasy standpoint on the value of these players. Talk a little bit about what kind of numbers you think Odell Beckham puts up this year. Is he the number one receiver overall in fantasy? How close does he become to that? And what does it do to the rest of the players I mentioned as far as Chubb and Hunt go, and we'll get into the suspension for Hunt, but as far as Landry and Njoku go as well?
I like Beckham quite a bit now. I've never been a.
Where is he on the flake scale for you?
Yeah, he's like a 2 or 2.5.
Okay.
He's
on a scale of 0 to 10.
0 like 5.
Okay, I was gonna
0
say.
Or no, first actually 1. First is like the worst.
He's a first-degree flake.
Yeah, he's not a first-degree flake. He's like 2.5.
Okay.
He's a little flaky. As far as number one receiver, I do like Hopkins. I like Julio too. They're all pretty close. They all have good quarterbacks throwing to them.
What about Devontae Adams and Michael Thomas?
Yeah, they're also very good players.
I guess I'm trying to pin you down as to how you rank Beckham among those upper echelon receivers now.
They're all very close to me. I guess I would probably take Beckham, either 1 or 2 with Hopkins. I mean, they're pretty tight.
Since the trade, Hopkins and Adams are going number 1 and 2. Beckham is now 3.
Yeah.
Beckham has moved up to the 201, and I believe that he will be firmly found at the end of the first round by the time we get to the main event.
It makes sense because, Mayfield's an up-and-comer. The offense is going to be really tough to stop. I can't understand how defenses are going to play this team when you have Nick Chubb, who can clean him. We showed him doing the power clean of 405 pounds and just tossing it around like it's nothing.
Right.
I mean, that guy is super strong. You cannot stop Nick Chubb with 6 guys in the box. So you can't be playing nickel and dime all day long. But on the same token, you have to cover Beckham. You have to cover Njoku. And you have to cover Jarvis Landry. I mean, it's just crazy. So it's going to be super tough to stop this team. I think they're going to be an elite offense and going toe-to-toe with teams like the Chiefs and the Patriots for scoring the most points in the whole AFC.
Ross Guy wants to know, Baker Mayfield, is he a top 5 quarterback this year?
I think so, yes.
Is he a top 3 quarterback this year?
If I had to guess, I'd say 4 or 5, just because I'd have to look at Mahomes. I mean, and then just people creep up in there. You just don't know who it's going to be. I mean, Matt Ryan was there last year, and maybe he stays around there, maybe not.
I'm going to be generous with you right now.
There's Rodgers. I mean, there's Russell Wilson. Although Russell Wilson has 0, he has Lockett.
This may be a mistake on my part. I feel all right offering it because I feel like the odds favor me.
Are we going to offer a Carrington trade on air?
No.
Oh, shit.
I have 5 on Baker Mayfield finishing outside the top 8 quarterbacks this year.
All right, I'll take it.
All right. So I got 5 on Baker Mayfield being 9 or below as far as fantasy points go. And you have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
5 on it?
Great. Thanks.
If you want me to be animated about the 444th, I got 5 on it bet, I'll try better next time.
We will. We're going to reveal those in a little bit as far as where we ended up on that.
How long is this show going to go?
I know. We got to wrap this up. Golden Tate has just signed a new contract with the New York Football Giants, 4 years, $37.5 million. Show him the money. They did. Adam Schefter says the deal includes a $23.5 million in fully guaranteed money. What the hell are the Giants doing, Dave? Because they trade Odell Beckham. They signed Golden Tate. He's going on 31 years old. It seems like
they don't know how to rebuild.
It seems like they're still making plays, but now he's catching passes from Eli Manning. You look at Golden Tate. What do you think his fantasy prospects are this year? Is this a player as Farrell Elliott would say, is this a player you want to be in business with?
I really like Golden Tate's value, and I like the fact, from his perspective, that they're paying him that much money. I'm sure he and his agent both like that as well. Eli's terrible.
His agent, Jerry Maguire.
Nice. Eli's terrible, but who is he competing with for targets? Shepard, who continually underperforms.
Evan Ingram, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, Ingram, who's now going to be in his 3rd year, and he'll probably do pretty well. He'll be a red zone player. But it's weird because you acquire another slot guy. So who's going to play outside? Are they going to draft someone, or is Tate going to go outside? I don't really understand that at this point. But Tate is.
I don't think Dave Gettleman understands
it. He's a talented wide receiver, and I think that they just said to themselves. Gettleman said, "Hey man, I'm going to get fired if I don't get like 6 wins here." So he's probably like, let me find the best wide receiver out there, and I'll pay him, and then we'll just see what the hell happens. And Tate's a good player. He's a decent locker room guy too, in spite of the Jerry Maguire show me the money thing on Twitter. I thought that was just funny. He's being cheeky.
We were talking about this. I did the morning show on the BJ and the Bear on the Score, which you can hear 6 to 8 a.m. On 95.3 and 1570.
I'm sure many will.
You can listen at thescorewi.com. You can actually download the podcast, which is out there right now.
Thanks so much.
We were talking about this morning. Normally, I don't like these manufactured things on Twitter, like whatever and the stage stuff. This I actually enjoyed. This was fun.
And that movie's been out it's been so long since
20+ years, right?
Yeah, it's now classic. It's like a classic thing.
The Saints agreed to terms with Latavius Murray, who was with the Vikings last year. 4 years, $14.4 million.
Hey, we all get puberty eventually, Balky.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Latavius Murray, not as big of a banger as Mark Ingram, but what are the chances he finishes as a top 25 running back this year? Now that Ingram's gone and you don't want to overwork Kamara if you're the Saints, is Latavius Murray a sneaky top 25 running back?
It's interesting. He if they use him the same way that they used Ingram, Murray really has some upside. And you always think of Murray as this backup player that always was almost good.
Right.
Never was quite good. He always had those great metrics, and he's this late round pick. He might actually, if he could actually emerge as something. I don't think he's gonna be top 25. But he's worth probably being where he's taken. Wherever he's being taken, he's probably worth that pick.
Take a guess where he's being going round-wise.
After this now? When did they?
Right after this, yeah.
11th, 10th?
12th, 10th.
All right.
So end of the 12th round.
I think that was going to be like 5 rounds off, so I'm actually glad I was
listen, you're dialed in, man. You are dialed in. The Kareem Hunt thing, let's talk about that. The NFL has suspended him 8 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. Congratulations on your second I got 5 on it win of the season. What was the first? We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Kareem Hunt suspended 8 games. It was expected to be at least 6 games, so obviously this is not a surprise. The Browns are not surprised. Kareem Hunt is not fighting it. I look at this from a couple of ways, Dave. Number one, how does this affect your Nick Chubb analysis, knowing that he is going to be rode upon heavier in the first half of the season than he will be in the second half?
Well, they still have Duke Johnson. It probably won't be a big deal.
Trying to trade him.
Yeah, that's fine. I think Chubb's going to be a workhorse back. Even when Hunt comes back, maybe he'll lose a little bit, but it doesn't affect it much. I already had it kind of figured out that was where he's going to be about 8 games.
Going at the 206 right now. You think that changes?
Yeah.
This is pre-Kareem Hunt suspension.
It shouldn't. I don't know why it wouldn't.
Okay, so 206 seems right to you.
To me, maybe he moves up to the 204, but it seems about where he should be, where he will be.
Are you concerned if you draft him at the mid-second? Are you concerned with Kareem Hunt kind of screwing things up for you later on in the season?
If you're going to draft him there, you should not be, because if you can't think 8 weeks ahead, how do you do your taxes every year? It's not that hard. So no.
So would you?
Sorry, I'm gonna turn my.
Whatever, man. Leave it on if you need to. Would you take him in the mid-second round then, knowing this?
If I would consider him in the mid-second.
If you did not see him power clean that on Twitter, would you still take him in the mid-second?
No, I mean,
there you go. I knew there was a reason.
You see a boss lift like that, Bulk, you got to draft him. I would actually, I'd be interested in taking Ertz or Kittle in that spot if I took a wide receiver early. If I'm going to go wide receiver heavy,
I still think Kareem Hunt's going too high in drafts.
And where's he going?
608.
Yeah, no, oddly enough, I don't think this affects Chubb much because he can only go up so much, right? But I think it affects Hunt a lot. For some reason, once it's out there, it's like, oh my God, no, wow! I bet he'll drop 2 rounds because people were inexplicably taking him for some reason, not knowing he's being suspended.
Real quick before we get to the I Got 5 on it recap, Mint Montana chiming in the chat. Dante Moncrief, 25 years old. He says he's buying. There's a ton of touchdown upside in that offense, and he thinks he's going to be the wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh. Right now, Dante Moncrief, you don't have to take him until the 22nd round of FFPC best balls. I think I alluded to this earlier.
He's going to move up a bit.
Okay, that's fine. But even if he moves up a bit, I still want to grab him.
All right. Mint Montana's into it. I get it.
Who would you rather take, Dante Moncrief or James Washington, if you only have one?
I would take Washington.
Because of the draft capital from last season?
No, because Moncrief has proven over year that he sucks, and Washington has proven over 1 year that he might suck.
Okay.
That's what I'm not.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I get it.
Every year, granted, Moncrief went to a crappy team, but it's like, when is this guy who's supposed to be good ever going to be good? I really would like to know. What's his highest receiving yards for his career? Like 700 a year, like 5 touchdowns. What is that?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, maybe he has a. How many players have had year 6 break? Is this a 6th year? What's 6-year breakouts? I mean, how many are there?
Yeah, there's very few.
Maybe he does. I mean, it is possible that he does have a super late breakout. I just don't want to play those odds of having that. I don't want to do it.
I'm totally with you, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but Josh Norris and Sigmund Bloomer on the Football Guys couch this week, on the couch, and they're talking about Hakeem Butler from Iowa State, the rookie receiver. And this is a guy I've really grown to like over the last couple of weeks from a dynasty purpose. And they were talking about, he looks great. And then they said, yeah, he looks just like Martavis Bryant the way he glides out there. And I'm like, dude, don't say that.
That's like
even if that's a compliment, don't say it. I don't want to, come on, man. This will be Moncrief's 6th year.
All right.
In the NFL.
How are his highlights, Bob?
Year 2, 64 catches, 730 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
Wow. So 3 years
ago. That was
his
best year.
With Andrew Luck.
Technically, that was 4 years ago.
Was that Luck and somebody else, right?
I don't know.
Or whatever.
Doesn't matter. Let's get to the I Got 5 on a recap. So for anybody who's interested, you can go to hsffhour.com and get real-time updates on this. Now, Rob has already updated the board at hsffhour.com. We're going to go through all the bets we made. This is always one of the most fun parts of the show this year. And I believe there are 36 wagers we need to plow through here. Yeah, it's going to be painful for one of us. All right. Starting off March 16th, 2018, Jordy Nelson scores more or less than 164 fantasy points this past year. I said under, Dave. You said over. He scored 139.9.
That's closer. That's pretty close.
Decent amount, but I still get the win. March 22nd, Jimmy Graham, over or under 8 touchdowns in 2018. I said under. You said over.
Darn it.
He had 2. I win that one.
Hands down.
Yeah, May 4th, Evan Engram, over or under 205.6 FFPC points. I don't understand where he came up with 205.6, but whatever. I said under, you said over. He ended with 105.2.
Jesus, I'm getting crushed.
May 4th, that same day, more FFPC points. Jordy Nelson or Martavis Bryant? Obviously, we know Jordy Nelson had 139.9. That's who I had. You had Bryant. He had 47.9. Win for me.
So I'm 0-4?
You're 0-4 thus far. More FFPC points last year. I had Randall Cobb, who had 84.6. You had your boy DJ Moore, 150.9. Congratulations. You were on the board.
Finally.
Nyheim Hines on May 17th. Is he a top 25 running back? I said yes. You said no. He missed out by 4 points, Dave.
Oh, that's awesome.
He finished as RB29, so you win that one. Congratulations.
All right, just real quick. You know what's funny is that just seems like Hines had a crappy year.
And he finishes RB29.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Something to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, as you go in these drafts this weekend. More FFPC points last year. I had Derrick Henry, 191.9. You had Alex Collins, 114.6. More FFPC fantasy points per game. This is a fun little wager we had. I had Jameis Winston, who averaged 23.6 points a game. You had Andrew Luck. Remember that we put in points per game because we were like, well, will Luck get hurt or, whatever.
Right.
And Andrew Luck, I had 25.3. You actually won that one. Now, I computed this, too, after Rob posted this. I'm like, well, throw out that one really crappy Winston game where he threw the 4 picks and got lifted early. You still would have won. So it didn't matter.
All right.
All right.
What am I at, 2-6 now?
You have 3 wins, okay? July 6th, Will Fuller, higher than wide receiver 34 this season. He finished 69th. I said he'd finish higher than 34. You said he'd finish lower than 34. Congratulations. However,
that was easy.
At the time of the ACL tear, he was wide receiver 22.
That was easy.
So I will say that you needed the injury to get that one.
Well, of course. We all knew that was coming.
Remember who I said, hey, you know who you should take as the running back 3 last year? It's Saquon Barkley. So we wagered. Who's going to score more FFPC points? My RB3, Saquon Barkley, who had 361.6 points, or your RB3, David Johnson, who had 238.8. I won that one. More Scott Fishbowl points. The Scott Fishbowl.
Why don't we bet McCaffrey instead?
Because we got a discussion about Barkley versus Johnson.
All right,
more Scott Fishbowl points last year. I had 2155.82 on my team.
I'm going to cough during yours.
You had 35.9. So I won that one. More FFPC points. Here's you get some dignity back. I said Rashad Penny would. He had 69.8. You said Kenyon Drake would. He had 193.7. Congratulations. More FFPC points on July 11th. We made this wager. I said Mike Evans, who had 257.8. You said Larry Fitzgerald, who had 172.4. Awesome. I won that one. Tavon Austin finishes as a top 45 running back. We made this on August 10th.
Oh, man.
I said no. You said yes. He finished as
110.
You guessed it, RB 87.
Oh,
so
my
I won
God.
that one.
This is it. I might have to get my wallet out here.
September 21st, more points in the FFPC for the season. I said Rex Burkhead, who ended with 41.5. You said Sony Michel, who had 136.1. You won that one.
That wasn't even very impressive out of Michel.
All right, now we'll get into the weekly stuff. We'll fly through this. Week 4, Austin Eckler or Jay Ajayi. I had Eckler, who had 13.6. You had Ajayi, who had 11.1. Week 5, I had T.J. Yeldon, who scored 26.2. You had Joe Mixon, who scored 20.5. I won that one.
Damn it.
Same week, I had Philip Lindsay, who had 11.1. You had his teammate Royce Freeman, who scored 7.7. So I won that one.
Oh, my God.
Week 5, this is a fun little one. I said Will Fuller, who had 3.5. You won with Adrian Peterson going 6.2. So congratulations on that one. October 12th, I said Jimmy Graham would score a Week 6 touchdown. He didn't. You won that one. More FFPC Week 8 points. I said Jarrett Cook with 19.4. You said Rob Gronkowski with 8.8. I took that one home. I don't know how we came up with this one. I must have been drunk. October 26th.
Obviously, I've been drunk for all these other ones.
More
Apparently.
Week 8 points. I said Raheem Mostert, who had 1.8. You said T.J. Yeldon, who had 16. You won that one.
Wow.
More Week 9 points. I said Robert Woods with 12.5. You said Juju Smith-Schuster with 14.8. Congratulations.
Wow, that wasn't a very big victory.
If you remember this one, I don't know if I was drinking this week or whatever. This is the Latavius Murray week. Do you remember this week? November 2nd.
I don't know.
I said Latavius Murray was going to go crazy, and I bet you that he would.
We had like 5 bets.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
I bet you that he would outscore Alex Collins, Deion Lewis, Tevin Coleman, LaShawn McCoy, Peyton Barber, and Dalvin Cook.
Just okay, by the way, that's a whole big mess of garbage I took there.
Right.
Because Dalvin Cook and a bunch of crap.
Right. Now,
please tell me what Murray had.
Murray had 11.7.
Okay, so I got a shot here with some of these.
All right, so I beat you with Alex Collins with 10.9.
All right.
You beat me with Deion Lewis 22.2.
All right.
You beat me with Tevin Coleman 32.6. Okay. You beat me with LaShawn McCoy. Oh, no, I beat you with 6.9, LaShawn McCoy.
2-2.
I beat you with Peyton Barber 6. And then you beat me with Dalvin Cook 14.9.
3-3.
So there you go.
Trying to make up some ground here.
Here's a fun one. Remember Jimmy Graham broke his hand? And we were talking about who's going to score more points the rest of the season. Pick a tight end. And you said, how about James O'Shaughnessy? And I said, okay.
Versus Graham.
And Graham played through it, so he had 36.6 the rest of the way. James O'Shaughnessy, 11.2, so I won that one.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Took like the worst possible guy.
Right, pretty much.
Okay. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day, James O'Shaughnessy, for winning me the bets and losing the wager to Dave Gurzak. Tariq Cohen,
Nice.
8 points in Week 11. I had him. You had Marlon Mack, 13.9. Congratulations. November 23rd, more Week 12 points. You gave me Baker Mayfield +5 versus Russell Wilson.
Right.
Mayfield had 28.5.
Yikes.
Russell Wilson 25.3. I won that
man.
one. All right, this is an unfortunate one for you.
I'm getting crushed.
You're not getting crushed. More Week 15 points. I had Adam Humphries who had 6.3. You said Chris Godwin who had 0.
What a piece of crap.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it.
Godwin's off my board for 2019.
All right, so that was December 14th. Let's move on to the postseason. Only a few left here. Actually, 3 left here. January 4th. These are fun ones. Austin Eckler, over or under 10 playoff challenge rosters. I said under. You said over. He was on 1. So I won that one.
Darn it.
Hunter Henry, over or under 35 playoff challenge rosters. I said under. You said over. He was on 5. So I won that one. Now, the playoff challenge, the total points, rather than total up our whole rosters, this is not going to be accurate. I threw out the guys who were duplicates on our rosters. And
fair enough.
I came to a total of 210 for me, and you had a total of 294. Crushed me.
By the way, do I have C.J. Anderson?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he outscored Todd Gurley, who was my Ram. So
Right.
congratulations on that. So that brings.
I don't want any more money for that.
All right. So that was 36 wagers we made this past season.
I think I owe you like $50.
No. I won that one, 21-15.
6. All
So yeah. So
not too bad.
$30, whatever. If anybody's been paying attention.
How are we doing on the years now?
For the years, yes. This is what I was going to bring up. You were up 4-2 on me. I have narrowed the gap to 4-3. Next week we begin season 8 of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, which means we begin season 8 of the I Got 5 on it. And currently we have 4 wagers.
I'm actually, by the way, let me interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I'm glad we didn't, because there was a number of years I won by like $5 or $10, and you killed me this year. So I'm actually,
I wouldn't say I killed you.
Well,
but
anyway, I'm glad that you're doing it on, like almost on like a skins basis, like in golf.
I
right?
think that
you won the hole.
That's
right?
just a better way to do it.
All right. After we have the 18th year of this, there'll be like a whole round of golf.
Now, we already have, just to bring everybody up to speed as we close the show tonight, we already have 4 wagers for this year in 2019. And 2 of them, Dave, have actually already been decided.
Right.
I alluded to this earlier, that you won. We had a wager on the Kareem Hunt suspension. I don't want to say as morbid as that seems, as ridiculous and insensitive as that seems.
It's not our fault he got suspended.
I said that it would be more than 8.5 games. You said it would be less than 8.5 games, and it's 8. So congratulations, you win that one. The other wager we have is Antonio Brown going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler by week 1 of the 2019 NFL season? I said yes, he is. I am conceding that bet to you.
All right.
Because you said no, he's not. So you win that one. So you are already up 2-0 on me. And to refresh everybody else, January 25th, we made a wager. More FFPC points this year. Phillip Rivers is who I have. You have Jimmy Garoppolo. And
actually, you know what? Let me interrupt you.
Go ahead.
How come it's Jimmy Garoppolo and Mike Garofolo? Can't these Italian guys learn how to pronounce their names correctly? One of these guys is screwing it up.
I think we should talk to our resident Italian, Aaron.
It's Garofalo. I actually had it as a note here. Garofalo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What the hell?
Interesting.
I'm going to ask Aaron about the Aaron Awe. Name is vowels, so we know it. I'm going to ask Drew Maselli, too. All these guys, names and vowels.
If you're an Italian, weigh on this.
Please.
highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Let us know.
I love my paisanos. I'm not Italian myself.
Is it Jimmy Garoppolo?
Or Mike Garofalo?
Or Mike Garofalo?
I prefer Garofalo. It's easier to say.
Yeah.
So if he could just change his pronunciation, I'd appreciate that.
The other wager we made 2 weeks ago, more fantasy points this season. I feel terrible about this given the fact that Ryan Tannehill has just been traded from the Dolphins to the Titans. I have more fantasy points in 2019. Corey Davis over your Mike Williams from the Chargers.
Why do you feel bad?
Because I don't feel like they know what they're doing in Tennessee on the offense there, that they're trading for Ryan Tannehill. And
do you have Corey Davis?
I have Corey Davis, yeah.
Are they going to start him over Mariota? Is
that
what they're saying?
Oh, I thought you saw Corey Davis. No. But the fact that they're trading for him, it just gives me the willies. I don't like that at all.
He's a backup, right?
I mean, for now. But, I mean, you know that they're not falling in love head over heels with Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
I don't know. And this just cements that even more.
It's $5. It's okay.
I don't care about the money. It's just like making crappy wagers is what I have the problem
with. I have to pay you at least $30.
Yeah, well, whenever. That's fine.
I'm going to have to ask my wife for some money.
That's fine. I'll probably end up owing you after this season. All right, so thanks to Ken Ford, to Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you. Thanks so much for listening. I know it's a busy time of year with the March Madness, with college basketball, with everything that's going on there. Everybody who listened live, Mint Montana, Wasp Guy, really appreciate it, guys. And everybody who's downloading, streaming, we're on Spotify now. I think I said that last week, so that's awesome that you guys are downloading us there. Really appreciate that. Go sign up for some Dynasty Orphans, only 9 of them left. Best Ball League, Superflex, Double Ups, all available, and of course Dynasty startups as well.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. That was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
We're on the famous floor, even more so if we on tour. Me and E explore the country, wondering about the evening before. Trying to explain where the time went, while other rappers find a studio to grind in.
I feel bad that, I know you think that it's like, six bets is like a quote-unquote massacre. I don't feel that way. And I started off the season so strong last year. The fact that it was still only 6 at the end, it was tough to close you out, I guess is the point.
And
you're already up 2-0 on me this season.
I look at some of these valuations, like, what was I thinking? But, a lot of them are for fun. Well, okay, they're all for fun.
They are all for fun. And that's what I'm going to tell myself when I absolutely get destroyed this year.
Hopefully, you that $30, so I do.
Hopefully, I can even it up though. At 4 seasons to 4, we kick off season 8 next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for listening, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.